Yeah. That's it. Oh, I think this is it. Here. This bit. Yeah. Okay, Chris? Yeah. Good evening or good afternoon, all. Welcome to the Lake Luzerne agenda meeting for July 16th, 2024. Please rise and salute the flag, and Ethan McMahon will lead us.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all.
Councilman Morton,
Here.
Councilwoman McMahon,
here.
Councilman Hanlon,
Here.
Councilman Niles.
Here.
Supervisor Molino.
Here. All right, the first action on this meeting, we have Marshall and Sterling, and Matt is here to go over the plan for our insurance for the coming year. So,
All
you
right,
got the floor.
thank you, Supervisor. Good afternoon, everybody. All right, so what I handed out, your town received a big kit, Marshall and Sterling, regarding what's coming with renewals. And, the purpose of me today is to take some of that and just streamline it down into something that's workable and easy. And, review kind of the state of the union, not just for this year, but we can start to think even into 25, well into 25. So 2 pages in front of you. You may recall what we did last year. You have, like many municipalities, what I'm going to label as early retirees, people that are retired from the town, but they're not yet ready for Medicare eligibility. They may be, just throw an example, they're 62 and they're retired and their spouse is 58, something like that. So they're, the carriers really don't have options for them anymore other than COBRA, which that doesn't really work in all cases. So that's why we ended up with MVP. They have allowed early retirees and spouses that stay on the plan after the retiree moves over to Medicare. And they're the only one that really allows that now. So good news is, if there is some good news with healthcare is, they're still reasonably competitive. Every municipality, every private business in the counties in the region really have either MVP or CDP-HP. So thankfully, it's one of the carriers that's competitive. So, with that, obviously, there's still challenges. Healthcare continues to go up at exponential rates. We know that. On the left-hand side of this kit of these 2 pages, the very far left-hand side of page 1 is what you currently have. Okay, and I'm not going to go over every line. I will, as a point, I wrote it down. Gene, I will bring larger font so we can all read this next year a little easier, but we tend to put it in a version that you can't see. But as you go down on the left-hand side, you have a $2,500 deductible for single folks, $5,000 for family, and of course the town has agreed to reimburse all of that deductible for them. So this was a win-win to the degree that town experienced some savings going to this plan, and the employees had 0 out of pocket for the first 25 and 5. Okay, so just kind of level setting from last year. Won't go down every line of this, of course, but if people hit their deductible of $2,500 or $5,000, if you go down a little further, you would see the primary care visit thereafter is $25 or the specialist is $50. That's what you have today. And just as we go further down the line, if you start to look at the financials, where you see underneath the first highlighted row, where you see the numbers 10, 12, 0, and 4. Those are the number of enrolled employees that you have. You have 10 singles, 12 that cover themselves and a spouse, 0 just children, and then 4 family plans. So when you take all those and add them up, that came to 384,000. And then as you look below, we set up that HRA. So what you were on track for, if you go down, the 100% means you're scheduled, if somebody needs it, to reimburse the entire deductible. Not everybody needs that, of course. So if every person in the building, used it, you can see that 100% line goes to 105,000. That would be if everybody used it. You're tracking at 60% utilization, which is pretty much right where we budgeted. Okay, and
What is our insurance year? When to when?
December through 11/30. So you had, if you recall, prior to moving to this high deductible, you had you still had a deductible plan the year before, and that was 1,600 and 3,200 were your deductibles. And you had the same type of mechanism where you were reimbursing, and you reimburse 60% actually. So I think, I'm not sure, I don't recall what you budgeted for exactly, but 60% is probably a reasonable number for you. You could certainly go higher if you wanted. But that gave you a number of, if we take the premiums of 384 plus 63,000, assuming it's a 60% utilization rate, that gets you to 447. So that's today. I don't want to go too fast or too slow, but questions there about where we are at the moment right now? Good for now? Okay. All right. So the plan to the immediate right of that is the renewal. Okay. So plan on the left is current. Plan on the right is a renewal as of 12/1. So we're way ahead of this, gang. We're in good shape on time. MVP has I'm going to call it a very minor bump to the deductible. So you can see it in red. It goes from 2,500 to 2,550. 5,000 goes to 5,100. The out-of-pocket maximum goes up. That's the next thing in red. Most people don't ever get near that, but that is a safety net for them. Nothing else changes on your copays with the exception of outpatient surgery goes up by $50. So you can go down it kind of line for line. It's all the same. Obviously, when you beyond the rates, if you look down below, there was 11.39% impact to the rate. Just as a reminder, the carriers submit these rates through state, through the Department of Financial Services for companies with under 100 employees, 100 eligible. And the state invariably influences that rate a little bit. And the state approved and landed on 11.39 for this plan. Okay. I'm not, I hate to say it in a way, but that is kind of where a lot of them are. That's been average and actually below average in some cases for what small employers have been experiencing. And as you go down, we can work on this math however you want, but we just still assumed 100% reimbursement with those small increases to the deductible, which would pull your reimbursement amount up a little bit to 64,260, having a net change of 10%, call it 10.07 on the bottom. Again, let me just pause. Any questions, discussion points on it?
So if we go with pretty much what we already have, it's gonna cost us
50,000.
50,000 more a year.
Well, and this one's not divided up yet. This is just gross. So it's not whatever you charge the employees back hasn't come out of this yet. It's just top number. But yes, theoretically, whatever your percentage differences are between those two, it's a percentage of that change. All right, so I'm really just going to focus on one plan. I want to show you some of the reasoning. My thought would be you're either going to want to renew it with that plan, unless there's something you want to change dramatically. Either renew with that plan or the one next to it. Okay, and I'll go through the one next to it. And it's up to you if you want to make, obviously if you want to make these changes. So the one next to it's still with MVP, still going to cover your early retirees, all that. The deductibles come down a little bit, which means your reimbursement levels would come down. Before we get into the copays in the middle, I want to show you one thing. Go down a little bit to where the prescription is. What's interesting with this is if you can see the prescription of 10, 35, and 70, and if you look up one line, it says NA for the deductible. In that particular plan, prescriptions don't count towards a deductible. Employees would just go back to a regular $10 copay for generics or $35 for name brand. That plan is a little bit different, but point being is the town wouldn't necessarily be reimbursing prescriptions on that. So that would pull your reimbursement plan number down a little bit. It's not perfect though, because if you look down when you get back to the primary care copay or the specialist or inpatient hospital, those are all higher than what you have today. So, there's some issues with it. In that the people who are hitting their deductibles are going to pay more after they cross their deductible. But that's kind of, when you net this one out, I think by the time, even if we reduce the HRA targets a little more, that one might get down in the 7 or 8% range. But it will involve some change on the employee level, just to the copays after the deductible. Some of the other plans, I will tell you, the math doesn't work on some of these other plans. I want to give you a sample. So if you take one more plan over, you see how we raise the deductible. MVP has a plan that has a $3,500 deductible. Because you would logically think over time, if we raise the deductible, we should be able to save more money. But there's a sweet spot in there, because if you're raising that deductible, you're also raising your HRA reimbursement, most likely, unless you wanted to freeze it. But then when you look at, you save a little bit on the premium, but then of course, when you net it all out, it costs more, because that, we would expect more reimbursement. And the same thing flows even if you go to a bronze plan. If you go to the ones, second from the right, there's plans that have a $6,100 deductible, $6,150. Same thing, the math, it's not compelling. It doesn't make, the math doesn't really work out great. And last one on this page, just for ha-has, we do it every year. We look at plans. Let's just say, hey, is this deductible world in the HRA? Does it make sense anymore? I mean, we want to look at that every year. So this is an MVP plan if we just got rid of the deductible and went back to an old school copay-based plan. And that one nets out at even worse, 27% on the bottom, just because the premiums are so high. So you're in the right spot, particularly because MVP covers those early retirees and the spouses. It's just, now where do you tinker, right? Where do you tune the dial? And you have a couple levers to pull every year, every single year you do. And one of them is obviously your contribution toward the plan, how much you contribute, how much leaving the employees with the balance. And the other one, of course, is this HRA. You're paying the full deductible now. Every year you have an option. You can do, that number can change. Yeah, you can go from 0 to 100%. And that's, obviously up to you.
Do you know if our covered numbers of people has changed in the last year? Single, employee.
I looked at it last night, Jim. I think it came down by a couple, 1 or 2. It's reasonably flat though. It just shifted a little bit. I'd have to go look. That's easy enough for me to find though. Just get that to you. But I think it came down by a couple lives. The second page, we don't have to go into tremendous depth with it, but I wanted to just highlight that, of course, the other companies in our backyard that employers have are CDPHP. That's really the main one, or Anthem and Highmark. Anthem used to be Empire. Highmark used to be Blue Shield. And CDPHP is competitive. They are a little bit more competitive, but they just don't cover those early retirees. So it's back to where we were last year. And if you go, so again, they are a touch more competitive, not vastly. And then if you look at companies like Anthem and Highmark on the far right, you don't have to jump too far. You just look on the very bottom with the rates, and they're, you're between 16 to 20% higher. So we don't have too many municipalities that have them anymore, unless you're large clients. So with that, I think you're kind of between those two, and it's a trend. It's a regular healthcare increase. Hate to frame it that way, but that's kind of what all employers are dealing with now, public or private.
What's our schedule?
How do you mean?
When do we need to tell you what to do?
You're in decent shape. You renew in December, so we have some time with this. It'd be great if you knew which direction exactly sometime in the September timeframe. In those, somewhere in that legislative calendar would be perfect, because then we can, if we got to get materials out to the employees and all that. So the kit that we sent you has all kinds of information, but again, I just tried, that's like due diligence, gives you all the information, all the plans out there, good to have, good backup. For practical purposes, what I'm reviewing today is really what's, practical for you and what, what you're likely to go to due to your circumstances.
Lori, do you know if the HRA is running smoothly from Colleen's standpoint? You heard anything?
So I haven't heard anything negative about it.
Last time I asked her, which was several months ago, she said it was getting pretty good.
Yeah, and I think, we never hit the total amount that you would have to reimburse that I'm aware of anyway.
A couple other housekeeping things, your dental plan staying the same, no changes to the benefits. Vision, we don't have yet, but I don't expect that to change. If it does, it'd be really minor. So yeah, I know, I backed it up and dumped, put the truck on your, back the dump truck up on your desk.
Some go up, some go down.
How much are the employees paying now?
I think it's, don't hold me to it, but I think it's 5%. It should, one of these days, go up a little. But it depends, if you change here, then charge more, it gets to be a fight.
Chasing her tail.
I mean, I think the one we had this year, I had heard a lot of complaints. So,
Yeah, I mean, in the insurance business, no complaints is fabulous,
Mm.
right? That means it's going really well. So
that's why I say the third one you got, you're looking at, I mean, it's a little bit cheaper. But it's got big jumps in it. It's got small jumps in some areas and then big jumps in it, like 6,000 to 8. It's 1,500 to 5. So is it worth it? Maybe just stay with the one we had this year. Go with the 48,000 more. I don't know.
But what is that line item, Matt? Annual INNOOP limits?
So that's annual in-network out-of-pocket max, essentially. So that's the Affordable Care Act gave that to us a number of years ago plans never used to have a ceiling. Like if somebody had cancer, you could spend, even if you had a $30 copay, you would spend, $30. So there's at least, if you have a, element where there's a really bad claim year, surgeries, hospitalizations, doc visits, you have a spending ceiling, and that's what that is. So just in-network, rarely does it get hit, I will say, but sometimes it does. And that's where at that point, if you hit today 5,900 as a single person, all in, granted, 2,500 of it comes from the town, but because that's an all-in number, then you're done with healthcare expenses for the year.
So it's kind of a in-network catastrophic limit.
Yeah, for the employee, absolutely. It's a benefit that came with it. Again, just in those rare situations where somebody needs it, but we've seen people hit it, just not
So
often.
what we have here on the first page on the left, all the way on the left is what we have now, which can never be had again, because everything has to go up. Like you said, insurance rates are going up. Okay. So in order to keep what we have, we just go to the next column over to the right.
Right.
I mean, we have no complaints from the employees about what we have, no complaints, no
Not
noise.
really.
no-
I mean, I went and got blood pressure medicine today
Yeah.
and it was 25 cents.
I mean, yeah,
Geez,
I mean, the short end of this, I mean,
but that's not the biggies, the hospital and all that other
Mm.
stuff.
if everybody's happy, I mean, just looking at it at first look, I mean, I don't see a reason to change. And rates are going up. It's like that for me too, even with my health insurance to the state. Even though I've been out of the
Yeah.
state, been retired for 2 years, still goes up.
Yep.
It's gonna go up, whether you like it or not.
So even if we stay at 5%, it's gonna go up.
Still gonna go up. So I think that what we have now is good. I mean, I wouldn't be inclined to leave that.
Is it?
I wanna fix something that's not broke.
Yep.
Is it apples to apples in terms of for the left column, current, and the column next to it? Do they both take into account what the employees are already paying or not?
No, this is
No.
just the top line number
Okay.
before you split it up. And to address your comments, if I wasn't asked for my recommendation, but really that would be it, you're in the right spot.
Yeah.
Unless it's broken, there's nothing else overly compelling to go to, especially with the carriers that really don't work well with the municipalities, period. I would renew it as is unless it was something I wasn't aware of that's broken.
Yeah.
And yes, the earlier you make that decision, the better it is on everything, right? But you don't have to wait till September. Whenever you decide to do that, it's good on our end.
Yeah,
That's
pretty.
roughly
What did you
about
start-
2,000. Oh, it's roughly about 2,000.
When do you start getting a feel for revenues for next year?
Well, when the end of July, she gives me the report. At the end of July, you all see it, she gives you one of those sheets every month. And just to take notes, some of them are 100%, but those are something we only play once a year, so it's finished. It's not that it's high.
Yeah, I remember making that. She
You know,
mentioned that last time she went
Yeah.
through everything. She
Yeah.
mentioned some of those are one-time.
one-time shots and unemployment, stuff like that, one-time shots. So they'll be 100%, even though we still got, 6 more months or 5 more months of this. But if you follow it, and I try to follow it, you're really hanging in there. Pretty good this year. There's a couple I'm a little afraid of, but like I say, some like salt. You only use it a couple of times a year, so you don't know. Now it looks like it's high, but we didn't need any more salt, so maybe October and November, depending. So it's tough to keep track, but I would say if you really looked at it, and I use a number of 12 divided into 100, it's 8.33. So when you look on the way on the right-hand side, and she's got a number there, if it's the 6 month, I multiply 6 times 8.33, and that's where the number is supposed to be. So if some are a little bit higher, it was an easy month this time, it was half. But so there's not too many that are really. The only thing that, I hate to say it, there's an attorney here with us, but the only thing that's killing us, and it's not this attorney's fault, is that Sherman Road thing. It's over $10-some thousand already that we never counted for back in November.
Your insurance isn't covering that?
I don't think so, no.
Why is it not for that?
Well, because we decided we left it with him, Pro, because he was working on it for 2 years.
Continuity was the logic.
Yeah.
Don't say anything.
Say a word.
I can tell.
I think you're all done with me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all set. So-
We'll try to look at it and
Talking
maybe,
about salt now.
maybe get.
Yeah, it's like, where is this going?
We'll get together and discuss it a little more and then see what the consensus of the board is.
All right, very good.
All right.
Thank
you so much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, yes.
So I just confirmed with Colleen that employees pay 5%.
That's what I said, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I mean, maybe it's time to go to 7. I don't know. If you go to 7, that's probably another couple $100 for everything, but if you're raising it, I figured
Well, I don't think it would be
2,000.
that much.
I don't know, just to start a conversation, my philosophy towards that's just enough to upset everybody. It
Yeah,
really
right,
doesn't make
and
any
I know.
sense.
We're talking 26 employees.
Yeah. Well, like this, every contract we got with the state, you get your percentages, but then they increase the insurance.
Yeah.
So
So if you come out-
everybody needs to get used to that. That's pretty much what usually happens. That's fair.
Multiply
Insurance without
down
5.
6.
Yeah. 3, 4.
Well, it's getting tougher. Look at Howell Road. It costs us 200,000 to pay for
Yeah.
mile of road.
The check in there for a plate is $211,000.
Just material.
Yeah.
Not even talking.
That's not even labor and the other
labor.
stuff.
Yeah.
And everybody, you
We
gotta,
had it all figured out for, what were we looking at it, talking about last year, talking about 100,000 a year
yeah.
pay
yeah.
or per road per mile. I don't know how to
Well, we added 100,000.
Now it's like 200,000. That's a
Well,
lot.
yeah, but they already, it was up.
There's
in-
a lot of excess work, a lot of
Yeah,
extra
but
work
the
too. didn't they?
Tips money and money at the budget, it was
Yeah.
up to 400,000. So we,
Good.
you know, that's. That's the way it is.
Lake Association, that was all. Yeah,
Cool. Good.
All right. Well, we
Sorry.
move on now with discussion from Councilman Morton. I got here.
You gotta pay the bills.
Got Lori first.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm jumping. I forgot all about Laura. I'm sorry, Laura. Yeah.
Okay, resolution to pay the bills of the 13th
That means-
abstract of 2024 is presented. General fund vouchers 3587 to 3609, $17,608.25. Highway fund vouchers 3610 to 3629, $220,210.24. SW1 water fund vouchers 3630 to 3632, $4,488.50.
A motion to accept it.
Make a motion.
A
Anna,
second.
Do we get a second?
Yeah,
I'll
Annie.
second.
Annie? No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none carried. This resolution, we are redoing resolution to adopt local law number 2 of 2024, replacing and repealing local law number 1 of 2023 as it pertains to short-term rentals in the town of Lake Luzerne. It has to be filed with the state within 20 days. I missed that mark, so we just have to
Just have to-
redo the resolution so that I can do it tomorrow.
I make a motion that we refile.
I second it.
7:10, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none carried. Okay, now you're on to discussion.
Councilman Morton.
Yeah, I just have a couple things that I'd like to discuss. One is, we talked about it a little bit already, but the situation up in Buttermilk. 4th of July weekend, again, kind of highlighted that something needs to be done up there. And, I don't think I've ever actually discussed it while on the board. I know I was before the board talking about my concerns up there. It's been an issue for years. There's multiple jurisdictions up there, state, multiple towns, even the county. No one has, I don't want to use the word cared enough, but nobody's taken the lead to get something done up there. I've got an email from James Sullivan, who runs the Morgan Duke Foundation, which is the only foundation that I'm aware of that they're painting picnic tables up in Buttermilk. They're cleaning up the trash. They're doing all that. He runs the Buttermilk Facebook page. And I don't know if anybody's had a chance to look it over, but there were multiple incidents in Buttermilk over 4th of July weekend. One where one of the tubing company's buses was assaulted. They tried smashing the windows out on the buses because the buses were blocking traffic for up to 45 minutes at a time, according to some people that were trying to get up there. They also went after some of their customers and some of the employees there as well. And just for the record, not my tubing company, different tubing company. So anyways, that happened. I got multiple calls of other things that were going on up there over 4th of July weekend. Just, I guess, I'm seen kind of as a point of contact for that. Separate from the events that happened on 4th of July, I got another email that I've attached to this from I think it should be in here somewhere. Yeah. A gentleman named Michael Calkins, who's a first responder from Queensbury, who witnessed multiple kids almost get run down on the road. So he came up to me and was like, what's going on up there? Like, is anybody doing anything up there? Sort of, I don't want to use the word begging, but he seemed pretty upset by the fact that he almost witnessed that happen. So again, I'm gonna bring it up to the board. James kind of took the liberty to make some suggestions here. He's asking the board to make recommendations to the DEC to kind of empower their officers that are up there, the forest rangers. So he's kind of gone through and highlighted some, and I wanted to add my own that he didn't bring up. And if you look at the emails, I did send him the email regarding this, but I think these recommendations should be sent to both the DEC and the town of Warrensburg, because the majority of the issues are happening north of the town line parking lot, where the town road really narrows. That's where it gets really dangerous. That's where most of the altercations are happening, because that's where most of the traffic issues are, because there's not a 2-lane road.
That's out of our, not to interrupt you, but that's out of our jurisdiction. That would be.
It is.
Issue.
This is all out of our jurisdiction.
Oh, yeah.
But I think we should make the recommendation because we're the town where everybody accesses it from. So I feel kind of helpless because I don't think we can actually do anything, with the exception of making this recommendation to both the state and Warrensburg.
And the only thing I would suggest, I've been getting calls from people that those buses are really moving fast through the town when they leave their pickup spot.
Yep.
You go another way, so no, I've never heard anything about yours. But, they're going too fast, and they're basically new this year. I mean, they were there last year, but not as much, but it just seems like we gotta write a letter to them to notify their drivers to follow the speed limit,
Yeah,
you know?
they don't, even on those roads up in there.
Yeah.
I've been up in there walking, hiking all through there, and they almost be driving. They'll run you right off the road.
So if some
Run
of
you
these-
right off.
These outfits that are coming into town, I mean, they have spots here, but, they have to learn to maintain the speed limit on the road. I think we should write them a letter, And a couple of people complain about the turn going on to that road. They don't make the turn good, so it's eating away at the road on the side of the road, and there's a bump there or something, so I didn't go down and look at it. But it's, it's probably, you made a good move moving across
Yeah.
the river.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But this is kind of an awkward position for me to be in, right? Because I own a tubing company. I'm in direct competition with the other tubing company. I want to make that clear. I don't want to, I don't even know how to approach this, but I made the decision to move to the other side of the river after the accident that happened 10 years ago when the kid passed away, Hunter Schofield. I don't want to call him the kid. Hunter Schofield passed away. One of my buses brought his parents to that accident site. I walked off the bus right behind his parents when they informed him of what happened at the accident site. That was 10 years ago. It took me 7 years, 8 years to finally get through to somebody to get to the other side of the river. I did that because I never wanted to experience what I experienced that day. My concern is that that's going to happen again. Something like that is going to happen again. It's not a matter of if, but when. I'm not the only one that feels that way. I am obviously, again, in direct competition with the other tubing company, but this is not why I'm approaching this issue. Well before that, I wanted to address this issue of safety up there. I want to highlight the fact that for everything that people hear about that goes on up there, there's probably 10 incidences that nobody hears about.
You're right.
I've seen multiple cars go over the bank that have to get literally towed out by, random tow companies that'll come in there and, block the area. It's a miracle that nobody else has gotten seriously injured. And I feel an obligation, and there's multiple reasons why I think Warrensburg's not going to take the lead on this because Warrensburg doesn't care. They can't access it from their side of the, the state's not going to take the lead. Yeah. The state's not going to take the lead because the state is a disaster when it comes to, trying to get things done like this.
That's who has the authority.
Not on the road,
The road, no, the state police do.
but the road,
Sheriffs and state police.
Warrensburg can shut that road down. My recommendation would be not to shut the road down to everybody, because the locals, that's a place for locals. A lot of people who aren't financially able to go to different places like Six Flags and stuff like that. They take their family up there to enjoy the river. It's a beautiful day use area. But I don't think above the town line parking lot, there should be any commercial traffic above that town line parking lot with Warrensburg. So everything that you see in this email here from James, I agree with wholeheartedly in terms of empowering the officers. And I think that we should add that we should recommend, or should make the recommendation to not allow, or have Warrensburg not allow commercial traffic above
I
the town
would
line parking lot.
Abstain from this from that point on for you.
No, I
wouldn't
haven't
even
gotten to
do
that
that.
point. I haven't gotten to that point.
Because it looks like you're cutting their throat.
100%. And that's why I wanted to make, yeah,
So the other problem, and I don't know, I mean, I think you'll agree with me,
yeah.
that Tubby Tubes has doubled the amount of buses that's running down our roads from the old Tubby Tubes.
Yeah,
buses wise, I'm talking about. They got a
they,
lot.
they haven't doubled them, but they have increased
Well,
them.
I'm
Yeah.
just, to me, it looks like double.
Pretty
because
much.
They're,
Yeah.
they're not even,
Yeah.
they're parking up on a hill too, so the old tubby tube never really, and he wasn't as aggressive like, these guys are, and they're coming in with a lot of buses. So it's a tough situation. We're
Just
caught.
feedback from people I know in town. You hear them talk, they're like, they're all these years, you hear them say, they're like, how are they making money off of off of forever wild land? How are they allowed commercial activity up into Buttermilk? Make land, make money, and all the stuff going on. The people have a problem with it. So if you want to, if no commercial traffic was allowed into Buttermilk at all, you'd hear resounding uproar from town, people very happy about it. Because people go up through to experience the one problem I had, just as an example. I was at one of the day use areas, well, 3 years ago, and thing was, one of the companies, the bus pulls right up with another one behind it, and it's one of the spots are right there next to it's a day use area for people to sit and enjoy the river and hang out. They park up and get out. And next thing you know, we got 80 to 100 people 5 feet away from us. And we use this no, you're up. I said, you're up there at the turnaround. Well, DEC said, I said, we're using this right now. What is wrong with you people? I'll tell you, I almost went after someone that day.
That is where the incident happened. Over 4th of July. That's
Because
the spot.
they're cutting in the one spot above Mahoney's where they were using it as a takeout that got shut down.
Mhm.
But there is an existing complaint in this town with commercial use of that area. And they're like, who's gonna repair the road?
I thought.
Who's gonna repair that road getting run,
Well, that's-
people
so
getting run
there's-
off the road and
Yeah, I agree
by
with you,
buses and.
Tim, I do, but I thought I brought it up last year. Is there some way we can bring those other companies in and sit down and talk to us? Remember I said, one company starts at 8, the next one starts at 9, and the next one starts.
There's only one company going up there, Gene.
It's just, it's just one now?
That's it.
Well, what about there's another one right here in town too.
There's only one company that's going up there for tubing.
Where's the other one? Oh, they're going down the tube,
Rafting, Whitewater. Yeah. And I want to make clear that I didn't get to that point. I plan on abstaining. I just wanted to make my opinion known, and the reasons behind it. And Tim, you bring up a good point. The people of the town would absolutely love that because it would give the area back to the people. And I agree with that as well. But my main concern is the safety issues that are going on up there. And it's just, again, it's a matter of time and nobody wants to touch it. And I get it. Okay. It's not an easy thing to touch. And I'm telling you, it's uncomfortable for me to bring up, but I believe deep in my heart that it's not a safe thing to have going on. There's the legal problems, and then there's just going to be straight up accidents that happen up there that are 100% avoidable. So anyways, I just want to,
It's
Jim
gonna
and I
happen
went
again.
last.
it is going to happen
2
again.
years ago to talk to them. They really weren't even interested in coming up with some ideas. But I think deep in their mind that one of these days something's gonna happen and the state's gonna close it down. It's their property.
But it's Warren. So in my discussions with the state, that's Warrensburg's road. So Warrensburg can go up there. They can, if Warrensburg allows access, you can go up there. The state would have to shut down, what they can do on the state land, but it's Warrensburg's road. Warrensburg has to make the call on that, I believe, to limit. They limit. It's a seasonal use highway right now.
See what
But that's something,
Do you know if James Sullivan and these folks know that that's Warrensburg?
Oh, they do. Yeah. I mean, if you read the email,
Is it supposed to go to them too?
it doesn't go to Warrensburg.
I don't know why he's not sending it to Warrensburg.
He sent it
Actually, I
to,
don't think he knows, or he doesn't remember because he should, unless maybe he did send it to Warrensburg too. I'm not sure.
no, he sent it to, well, I mean, maybe he sent a separate copy, but the one that we got was to Senator Steck, Assemblyman Simpson, and then everybody else that's here in town.
They're all on this piece of paper. I don't see Warrensburg.
I just got a tornado warning in Lake Luzerne, so. Should move it along.
You give me 1 second here.
Not in the middle of it.
I gotta drive a half an hour.
That's half the fun.
The
It's part of the fun.
Tornadoes don't move that fast.
last one came right down the street I'm taking home.
Yeah,
Gonna follow me all the way home.
it might be right just above my house on the.
Warning or watch?
No, it says
It's a warning.
tornado warning.
I think
Soon.
One company, that's the only ones using it up there.
I said this
Oh, I didn't-
was
Tubby two. Tubby's the only one.
So we're both currently taking out where Thomas Road meets River Road, but the only company's going up there is.
Aos Adirondack, I can't think of their name, right about on top of the bridge.
Saginaw Outdoor
They
Center.
only do down the.
They just do the
second-
whitewater.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about the two smaller places that are on Railway Health?
So there's Wild Waters. They just do the no, they do the rafting. So the companies you have in town, Saginaw Outdoor Center is strictly whitewater rafting. Wild Waters is strictly whitewater rafting. My company does whitewater rafting
Tubby
and
two
tubing.
started it, and they did the whole tube down the Hudson.
Yeah.
That's who started that. whole
Yeah.
deal there.
Yeah.
The whitewater rafting is all the second bag.
All in the Saginaw. The only two companies that are accessing buttermilk for tubing, well, the only company that's accessing going all the way up past the town line is buttermilk, or sorry, Tubby.
See, all the use up there conflicts with the whole Forever Wild and the whole, it just conflicts with it. It's just.
It does, and
direct oil and water. It
look-
does not mix.
I'm somebody who took advantage of that for years
Cause you could.
because I could,
Nothing wrong with that.
right? I could, but I'm, like I said, after the accident, I was trying to get to the other side. And for a number of reasons. Number one is safety. Number two is I grew up here. So I understand the frustration of the locals, and there's a lot of frustration with the locals up there, you know. Not only the fact that they can't access it as easily when the buses are up there and things like that, but the exposure that area gets due to the buses, the amount of people that'll go
Oh
up
my
there
God, yeah,
and
you're
be like,
right.
oh, we can just come up here.
That's how it starts.
And then that brings another safety issue because, and we just experienced this a couple days ago. They expect the river to be normal levels every single time they go, and that river fluctuates. That river jumped from 1,000 cubic feet of water per second to 5,500 overnight the other day. And we saw people just flying past the takeout, not having a clue. You know, they said, oh, this took us 2 hours last time. How come it took us 30 minutes? Well, because there's 5.5 times the amount of water.
Yeah.
But they don't have that. So you're exposing people that have no, you know, there's a multitude of issues of what's going on there. So I wanted to bring it up at this meeting to hopefully, you know, in a couple of weeks, think it over and somebody take the lead on it, take action. And obviously I do plan on abstaining from that vote, but I wanted to make my concerns known. And also I would encourage you guys to read the emails from James, and then also the other first responder that was concerned. So that's the first thing. The second thing,
It's legitimately a tornado. Should we go down 6? I've gotten texts from other people saying we should go down 6.
There's not much of a downstairs. You mean the senior center?
No,
No, there's
be the basement,
the basement.
basement.
Yeah, you want to go? I have no
Good.
problem.
I like riding it out.
But I'd rather go home because she wants to go down in the basement.
Yeah, we won't make it home from right now in the storm. We would have
Where
to
is it?
stay here.
About 10-15 minutes started,
Where?
Hold on.
the west.
It came from, it's come, Karen just got a message that there was one in Northville,
Tornado in Northville.
which isn't all that far away. Coming right down the Sacandaga, maybe. Is that how that goes?
I have no idea.
Right over top of
Just
Hadley,
checking.
right over the top of Hadley Mountain, right at my house. It's the fire tower right there.
they're just getting off.
Yay.
Well, I'm not gonna stay out on the porch and watch the clouds twirl this time. The last one, we were on the porch and my husband says, oh my gosh, look at the clouds, they're twirling. We need to get in the house. I said, they do that all the time. He goes, no, they don't. Turn off.
Oh, I don't have anything that's worth risking.
Yeah.
I don't have anything.
I don't have anything either.
We just have to, maybe quickly do resolutions for next meeting. We'll need, bills, minutes.
Bill's minutes, what else?
I'll have at least one, maybe two committees set up for approval.
Committee set up, okay.
I'll have the zoning committee for sure. Probably have the playground committee.
Playground. Okay. I'm not leaving here. We'll go, if you want to go in the basement.
All right. The way to the basement is through the office. And there's actually some chairs down there, some red ones.
I mean, it's up to everybody. Yeah, just get away from the windows. We could go in the hall. We could take chairs out there or whatever. So
we
are
go-
we? How are we doing?
All right,
We
so
got, so. we
if
got-
anybody had any resolution.
I have nothing.
2 weeks from now, just send them. to-
We can do. Motion we adjourn.
Okay.
I second it
Okay.
for safety reasons.
All
right?
in all in favor.
Aye.
Oh, I'm all nervous.